This is Michael Spedden, and welcome to Fowl Players Radio, your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. We feature interviews from musicians, actors, comics, dancers, authors, and much, much more, up-and-coming artists and beloved favorites. We've got it all, people on stage, backstage, out front, and behind the scenes. Sit back and relax. Let's have some fun.
Hi, this is Kim of Kim's Crypt, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here, and you are listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hey folks, Michael Spedden here, and welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio, and thank you for joining us today. We are here with A Day in Pompeii, a band from Lynchburg, Virginia. Anna Tracy, Candace Phelps, and Jonathan May joined us today to talk about their material, their creative process. We shared some band stories back and forth, and I tell you, they're a great band, well worth checking out. Their link tree is in the show notes, which will give you links to all of their social media, where to get their music, and all of that good stuff. Well worth checking out, folks. And we will be back right after these words with A Day in Pompeii. The Fowl Players of Perryville, the Mid-Atlantic's premier murder mystery company, have upcoming shows on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, Fifth Company Brewing, Susky River Beverage Company, Madigan's Waterfront, Maryland Party Boat, and more. If you are interested in seeing a show, our website is www.fowlplayersofperryville.com, and if you are interested in booking us, please reach out to us at foulplayersperryville@yahoo.com or 443-600-0446. Remember, every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. and Sunday at 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the replay is The Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. We feature blasts from the past, songs you forgot you liked, hidden gems, classics that never die, local and national act interviews, and music from up-and-coming and beloved classic bands. Go to www.97underground.com and download the free app today and listen to us wherever you go, anytime, anywhere. Also, see our archive of interviews on YouTube at 97 Underground Michael Spedden. We thank you for watching and listening to Fowl Players Radio. Our main website is www.fowlplayersradio.com, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@fowlplayersradio. Remember, please support our guests in their endeavors. Shop small and buy local. Links to their books, albums, tickets to their shows, and much, much more can be found in the show notes of each episode. Enjoy today's show.
Hi, I'm Emmy Jo.
And I'm Doug, and we're from the New Zoo Review, and you're watching Fowl Players Radio.
Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
And here we are back on Fowl Players Radio, season number 11. And today we have from the great city of Lynchburg, Virginia, A Day in Pompeii, we have Anna Tracy, we have Candace Phelps, and Jonathan May. And I've been playing their stuff on 97 Underground, and I was turned on to them by a recent guest, Andy Henson. And I've really been enjoying their stuff, and I had to get them on here for all of you to hear. So please welcome A Day in Pompeii. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you've been working on material here. We've talked about all kinds of things. You've been giving me all kinds of good news. You're recording, your drummer is on the mend. Apparently, we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So what's been going on? Tell us some good news here.
Well, I guess what's new is just solidified our current lineup of members and getting our set nice and tight, and adding in songs we want, and kind of just making sure this is what we want to present once we are gigging in our town, work our way out, and that's really what we've been focused on. We're looking at our next release. It's pretty much ready. Just put some vinyl tracking on it, a couple little touches here and there, some vocal things.
Mhm.
Really looking forward to the newest single that we're going to put out. I'm not going to say anything else about it. And we're working on some merch. You know, we came across an opportunity to make merchandise happen, and that's always fun. You know, you'll have even just friends saying, "Hey, you guys got t-shirts?" And then you answer with, "No, we don't." Well, we have flipped the script. Yes, we do, and you can get them in any size and shape and color, and so that's exciting. Give some people a way to represent a day in Pompeii.
That's great that you have that. And folks, you heard that. That means get out and
Keep an
support
eye.
a band. Get out and support a band. Stop spending your money on dumb shit. Get out and support a band, you know. Merchandise, you know, that's the thing. All of the artists that I have on this show, and I have all walks of life, like I was telling you before we started, you know, not only do I have bands lately, since, you know, with my work with 97underground.com, you know, I've had a lot of bands on in the last season. It's been predominantly bands, but I've also had Broadway, I've had comedians, authors, and they all have stuff.
Yeah.
They have books, there are tickets to shows, there are CDs, there are DVDs, there are, you know, again, live performances to go see. Get out and do it. These, not only are these good for to buy for yourself, they make great gifts.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I used to use the joke, and it's terrible, but I'm still going to say it. You know, buying a band's CD or a t-shirt is a way to take them home without getting in trouble. And
Yes.
it's, you know, less than taking them out to dinner. You can take them home in that way. And it's a great conversation starter. You wear a band shirt out and people are like, "Who is that?" You got an in. You got something to go with there. And it just looks cool. It looks cool, and it's better than what you're going to find on the rack that has a graphic that you don't care about. I mean, a cat flying on a shark is cool, but you can get something similar with a band name on it. So why not just do that?
Exactly. And the thing is, too, there are people out there that will see you wearing a band t-shirt that they don't know. And there is a percentage of people that'll go right to their phone and, who is that?
That's me.
Yep.
I'm absolutely will admit this. I've taken pictures of people's t-shirts. If I've been out somewhere, I'm like, that's the band. I'm gonna remember this. And I've found something new, found something I like. Even if it wasn't music, just something on a shirt catches your eye and you're gonna look at it. And so just supporting artists in any way you can, especially if you like their music.
Right. You know, and this also reminds me of one of those, you know, those silly fake news websites like The Onion and other ones. One of them, and I can't remember which one it was, it says, you know, man mourns the closing of vintage independent record store that he never patronized.
It was probably the Hard Times. I think that's what they call it.
One of those. But yeah, they always put in like the silly headlines or
I can't believe it closed. It's like you never even went.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And
why you think it closed?
Right. And that's the thing too. And you know, I know people, you know, myself included, where you know there are bands that I was in years ago, and they're like, "You still in that band?" I said, "No, it broke up, and we were together for 15 years, and you kept saying, 'Hey, I got to get out and see you guys sometimes.' Well."
Like, well, can't now.
Where were you? Yeah.
It's even easier now, though. I think it is easier now more than ever to support a band because everybody is on a streaming service.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty easy to get your music out there, even if it's garbage, because you can flip through Spotify and hear awful things, but you can also hear really, really excellent bands. And so just streaming the songs, add us to your playlist. We'll be there for you when you're working out or when you're in your shower crying. Either way, we're happy to be a part of your playlist. That's one way to support an artist. And sharing playlists and so yeah, there's so many avenues to support art right now.
And another thing that I do too is normally, a lot of times, people send me some samples of things to play on the show.
Sure.
But I usually end up buying the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like if somebody sends me 2 songs off of a CD or a release, I usually go back and buy the rest of it so I have it. And then that way they're not giving out freebies,
Well, it's good on you.
Yeah.
having been a
Yeah.
musician and believe me, I put some of my old material out on the streaming services, and I've got absolutely nothing to show for it except for what is it, a thousandth of a cent per stream or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
and
but it's there. You can listen to it.
right.
I've had songs I've recorded and they didn't make it out the studio.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
hurt. So if you've got
Yeah.
it, if it's 20 years old, 30 years old, you put it out there.
Sure.
You did put it out there. Have it somewhere to access. I think that's a great thing to do.
A lot of bands
To
are
be
doing
able to
that.
actually like show like this,
Mhm.
look, this, we made this. Enjoy
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, and there's getting to be. I really think on the East Coast, and those are the only places I really frequent. I think there's going to be both a revival and a new wave coming from the East Coast with all of the bands that are out there recording and releasing material,
I
and
support this idea.
and with a lot of the bands that were from back in my day, in the 80s. Actually, it's probably from the mid 70s through the early 90s. The Baltimore DC scene, which I know isn't quite in your territory, but a little, was
Not
huge.
far.
It's
You
close
know,
enough.
it was huge, and we did have a lot of bands, coming up from Southern Virginia and the Carolinas, and coming in from places like
Yeah.
Ohio, West Virginia. But Baltimore and DC, I mean, they were probably just really just one step below New York. But there were
It's like
great
its own
clubs.
thing.
Yeah, there were great clubs. There were great bands. The bands looked good, they sounded good. I'd say DC was a little more original than Baltimore. Baltimore, they had good bands, but they were very like what's the homologous, or very, very let's not I butchered that word, but similar.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Homogen
cookie cutter.
Yeah, cookie
Yeah.
cutter, similar, not a lot of variation. DC
I'm
was
sure it's
anything
still
goes.
good. Just
Yeah.
you walk in, you know what to expect. It's
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
it's not a
DC
custom order. It's
Right.
off the menu.
DC, the clubs down there were just wild. And the bands down there there was just so much more diverse
The melting
styles.
pot area.
It
so
really, it really
you
is. It
get
really
a
was.
little bit of everybody.
Yeah. Yep. And I can just tell you, plenty of stories from being down there and playing, and it's just it was a great place to play too, with it to kind of go hand in hand with Baltimore at the time, but and then it was just such a magical time to play too. Part of it as well, and I don't know if this is something um or maybe this is something that we would get back to, is flyering.
Oh gosh, I love
remember
a
those
good
days.
flyer. I've
Mhm.
done it
Mm-hmm.
like 15 years ago in a band I was in. God, was it 15 years ago?
It's something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
we
Oh, you
got
could
our
have
flyers
so much
printed.
fun with it.
I remember the one time, and it was a fun experience because I had never done it before. And we hit Lynchburg and we hit up a college, and we're laughing and we're running into their
Mhm.
music hall, and we're
Yeah.
taping our flyer on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the local hangout here in Lynchburg. It's not a place anymore, but flyers everywhere. It was stupid. We were handing them out.
Mhm.
And I don't want to think that it's dead,
Mhm.
but it's definitely not something you see a lot. You see flyers online, a really
Mhm.
good graphic, but I think it's something is lost when you don't walk into the gas station, you don't see it on that little bulletin board
Yeah.
near the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I'm like, we could do that again. We can make that happen again.
That's great that that's something that's kind of alive and well in the scene that you're performing in now. It's something that was really, really big in the 80s, and it was something that not only, you better have been out flyering if you wanted to play.
It's the only way you're going to tell people what's
Yeah.
going on.
Right. I mean, you better have been out there, and there was just no way around it. That club owner, they expected you to be out there giving out flyers and meeting people. And sometimes people would
Right.
make, a 1 or 2 song cassette just to give people. And but it was a lot more, it was that face-to-face interaction. And I think just the way things are nowadays, there's almost like that arm's length barrier between people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's there between, I go through social media to get to you. I just don't hand you a flyer and speak to you for a little bit myself. That's weird to come over to somebody, it's
Yeah. Well, everything is a phone call, an email, a text, a DM,
Mhm.
a
forum,
story, a reel, and those are great. I mean,
Mhm.
those are great. It's different. It is different now.
It is. It's a different world. It sure is. It sure is. So the recordings that you've been doing, you've been doing them, Jonathan, you've been really kind of doing these yourself, with the things that you've learned over the years. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So we recorded in the basement of my house.
Mhm.
Kind of got a little. We practiced there too, so it's kind of does double duty. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have like super nice recording equipment. I've learned what not to do and what sounds good, at least to me, and kind of just that's my template for whatever we do. But the main thing is you start with something good at the source.
Right.
If you
Right.
get a good source, then you can build on that and it's going to sound better. If you start with garbage, it's only going to be but so good.
Mhm.
And I'm extremely anal when it comes to the music that this group puts out.
Mhm.
I mean, if I do a take and I don't like how my pick hits a string, that take is in the trash. I'm doing it again.
Right. Right.
If something's just weird, I mean, I strive for absolute perfection.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's really annoying. Like they'll tell you that I get like super into it and stuff, but when you hear the end product,
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like, that was all worth it.
Was totally worth it.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Sure. And studio recording is just a whole thing to itself, really.
It's different.
It,
Anybody that tries it out, they're like, I performed live for 10 years. It's like, cool. That doesn't translate into studio. It's
Mhm.
just,
No.
yeah. Once that button's hit and I always say the tape is rolling, but nobody really uses tape anymore.
Oh,
to
yeah.
record
Yeah.
on. Right. It's all digital. But once they hit the button and the tape's rolling, I mean, it is a completely different feeling to hear just the raw sound coming into your ears.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Live you get room reflections and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but you hear everything.
It can humble one person sometimes.
Because it's
for
it's not
sure.
forgiving at all.
No, it
I
isn't.
mean, it is if you throw in 50 million effects on it, and that's all that you have. But you must show up, and you must you
Mhm.
know you must do it right
Mhm.
when you're recording. It's not forgiving at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I learned the hard way. In a band probably 20 years ago. We were on a budget and we were working with a pretty well known. He's really well known now, but he was well known back then, and it was an eye opening experience. I'll tell you that. I was not prepared, and it's a little embarrassing. And so that
You
was
learn.
oh yeah,
Won't forget
I
it.
learned that day.
Yeah.
No, I called it click track boot camp because
Oh,
they
yeah.
wanted me to play to a click track, and I was like, I don't know how to do this.
I have
I still
nightmares
hate
about click
click.
tracks.
Uh,
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
they are one of those things that's almost like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It feels like,
Yeah.
but then when you get it down, it's like, oh yes, this was the right way all along.
This
It
is
was the
the
right
way
way.
it's supposed to be done.
Mhm.
This is the way.
well, it depends a lot on the style of music too. Like
Sure.
for what we do and, super tight metal, you want it like
Mhm.
Mhm.
on the grid, but I wouldn't bring in, say, a folk band and say you're gonna play exactly to
Right.
the
That's
click
true.
track. It's gonna
Yeah.
sound terrible.
No, well, it's not necessary for that.
Well,
Yeah, like
with
you said,
some
sound has a lot to do with that.
well, the thing is too, with some of your songs that that I've heard, um, I can't see how you would do it without that. Because I mean, some of it's just so
Yeah.
precise, and you got those staccato, with the
Yeah.
drums and the guitar. It's just so you know precise. There's no margin for error when you're doing
No, there's
tracks like that at all. So
very
I can
very
see why
little.
you're doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely I get it, but to me it's like click tracks to me, the thought of click tracks, they're right up there with those nightmares where something's chasing you and you can't run, or your feet or you're trying to run up the steps and your feet sink.
Yeah.
Right.
That's that's what
I'm an overthinker and like
yeah.
hypercritical of myself. And so when the click is on and I'm listening to it, I was like, I'm I'm wrong, everything's off. I hyperfixate on it. And that's just who I am. That's just
Right.
personality. Hyperfixate. But I do value it, and I feel like I'm just getting more comfortable with it, and it's something I can't deny it. That's what it is. I can't deny it. I can't get frustrated. Just accept this is a part of this music, and I have to give into it.
Yeah,
Sure, sure.
it's a part of the process, and we've kind of just learned and evolved that process since we started.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So listening to this material here, I mean, this is very, very well done, and kudos to all of you on putting this project together. I'm listening to this material, and I mean, it's just very well done. Just such I can tell it's well thought out too. I mean, you've really taken the time to put the parts in, add what sounds right here, and it just sounds like whenever I'm listening to it, and again, with me being a bass player, I tend to be very, I zoom right in on the bass and drums whenever I'm listening to something, and then usually the second time around, I'll catch the guitars and everything, or I'll hear the opening riff, which is usually guitar oriented. Then I just
Yeah.
go straight to the rhythm section, and I'm like block out everything else, and I'm listening to the bass and drums, and I'm like, wow. And then after that, I listen to the guitars and the keys and the different parts that are put in there and everything, and then the vocals and the harmonies and things like that. And um, I mean, just all the things that you didn't put in there, I can just really tell how well thought out it was. And I'm sure that you probably did spend a good amount of time going back to the drawing board or throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. But in the
Yeah,
end,
Oh man.
I mean, in the end, this product is just, it's definitely, you definitely have some quality stuff here.
thank you. I actually broke a rolling office chair because of one of the songs. I threw it
I'm gonna
against the wall and it did not stick.
Oh boy. Well, yeah.
I'll tell you, because he probably won't like what, like 90% of what you're hearing on the tracks, that's John.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the musical part, like he tracked
Mhm.
drum and bass and guitar and some more guitar and some more guitar, and then he had to track vocals because the
Mhm.
harsh vocals in our songs, that's John. So if anybody's asking, like 90% of each song is John.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we would,
And keyboards. I play keyboards too.
yeah, all the
Okay.
synths, like all of that, especially in our newest release, Love and Exile. There's a lot of synth. Oh, it's so much. When you hear it by itself, you're like, dude, what is going on in your head?
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's all John. But that particular release, there was there was a lot of go back and fix, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
when you broke the chair, right?
Right.
No, that's not when I broke the chair. That was on another one.
Okay, well, but
Yep.
there is a lot of thought. There's a lot that goes on, and even just I'm just doing vocals,
Mhm.
but
There's a lot going on in vocals.
Yeah, there is.
there's layers and a little extra of this and a harmony there and a harmony here, and but I feel like I'm on the outside looking in because I'm not playing any instruments, and there's so much into each song. But when you get that final product, man, and you know how many hours are put into it, it's a little unreal. But very proud of it, just to be just the part I put in.
Yeah, I mean, and we were just talking about your voice too. You have a very strong and rich voice, and I like it's more in the lower range of women's
Yeah.
voices. You're
It
not a
is.
soprano.
Years of yelling at people, really build that. Yeah, I'm only half joking, but yeah, I like where I'm at now vocally for sure.
Mhm. I mean, it's very rich, and there's good harmonies on there. Now, were you singing on this too?
That's me. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the two of you, I think, blend very well.
We're
Work.
sisters.
Oh,
So that
okay.
helps.
So I like
Well-
to tell
I know.
people when they're like, "What's up with the harmony?" I'm like, "It's a family thing. It is genetic and
Mhm.
unattainable when it comes to what we sound like."
We've
Mhm.
I mean,
spent a
obviously,
lot of
harmony
time together, so
Right.
that helps.
it's
Oh,
our
okay.
own unique a way of harmonizing together. Obviously, lots of people harmonize, but I
Of
like that
course.
we're family, we're kin. It really like lends to what we're doing.
Hmm.
So that makes it special. Like I learned to harmonize riding in the family van on vacation, and she's singing harmony notes. I'm like, what is that?
Mm.
And so that's how I learned. Anytime I need to figure out a harmony, I'm gonna ask her, because I just feel like she's got that on lock for sure.
That's good. Now, are you trained?
No.
No. You just
Well, I
started.
guess
Yeah.
it depends on. Uh, in some ways, yes. In some ways, like took lessons, no.
No.
Okay. All right. That's
But she and I have been singing as long as I can remember, and
we have a
we'd
gospel
had a
music
lot of
foundation. So that
yes.
really lends to like that strong and powerful vocal ability. Choirs, we've
Mhm.
done a few choirs. We've done quartet, so that you got those harmonies in there.
Oh, yeah.
They'd better be correct, because if they're not,
So,
everybody's gonna know.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say we're trained, but we're seasoned.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's a
that's
good
that's a lot.
description.
I'm a barber shopper too, and
Nice.
I'm not a particularly good barber shopper, but I do it. I'm in a chorus instead of a quartet.
Okay.
That I was up there in a quartet. That hook could be out there real quick, but I've sang with the chorus of the Chesapeake up here for a number of
cool.
years, and but there are a lot of guys that are quartet singers, and that is not easy because
No, oh my
It's
gosh.
not.
I haven't done a lot of that at all in the
Mhm.
past few years, but it's definitely like, it's part of my history, vocal
yeah.
history.
Oh, my first experience with it, I was actually in a theater. I was in the Music Man, and I did that quartet part. I was the bass in the quartet. Ice cream, say ice cream. So yeah, that was my part. But yeah, harmonies are not easy. I mean, once you
No.
something, I mean, usually once you find it and it comes natural, then it's like, duh, what else can I sing here?
I
Um,
mean, we practiced by singing like the Oscar Mayer Wiener song,
Yeah.
and it was a running joke. You're like, oh, you want to hear us sing? Fine, and we would sing the Oscar Mayer Wiener song with beautiful harmonies,
mhm.
and people either they loved it or like, you guys are weird.
Yeah, we know. That's why we did it.
Fun for people.
Mm.
But that's our training.
Mhm. People
That's
were
where it
asking
comes
me
from.
if I was singing on the J.G. Wentworth commercial, and I can. That's my part. You know, I could have
I mean,
sang that part.
everybody knows it. Come on.
Yes.
You gotta sing it.
Oh, you want me to? If you have long-term payments, but you need cash now, call JG Wentworth 877 cash now.
Yeah.
But they've been
Nice.
using the
Thank
same
you.
recordings for 30 years on those it was lip syncing.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you a story about that audition if you don't mind, but I
Ooh.
can tell you. Have you ever seen The Producers?
Yes.
I'm sure
Bits
you
and
know
pieces
that.
of it, but yes.
The Gene Wilder, Zero Mostel, Mel Brooks, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
60s version. Okay, Jonathan,
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
nodding your head.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All right. So when I went to audition for that commercial, I got up to New York City, and if you remember the part where they were auditioning Hitlers for the producers, it was a room full of Hitlers. Well, it was a room full
Mhm.
of Vikings I walked into.
Oh.
Okay, and I just showed up in a polo shirt and a pair of khakis.
Nice.
Everybody else was wearing helmets. They had their hair braided. They were wearing like those like it looked like a horn around their neck, you know,
Yeah.
and
Like the big drinking horn kind of
right,
thing.
right, and
Yeah.
wearing kilts and all this other stuff. And I got the part, you know, because they were having us lip sync. And you know, I went over the commercial, and then when they came in, and they would have a group of us get up, a group of 10 people, not just Vikings, but people on the bus. They would get up and they would play the music and they would point at people, and you had to come forward and lip sync your part. And I ended up getting the part that way. But
Nice.
it reminded me of The Producers, because you walk in and there's like 1,000 Vikings all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got it just wearing my polo shirt and khakis. But you know,
I guess that's the time when it's, dress for the job you want and not the job you have. You did
Yeah.
follow that and it still worked out for you.
Yeah.
yeah, that was that we had a lot of fun on that shoot and everything. So you know, but yeah, met some really nice people, and that was a really great day. But back to you now. So this is about you. So have you been you've been doing your recording and everything? I know your drummer is on the mend right now. All my best to him, by the way, too.
Thank you.
Hope the
We'll
healing
send it his way.
process and
Yeah, it was pretty nasty what he got into. He's actually lucky to be with us.
oh,
Yeah. Um that was back in January. And so that put him out of commission for quite a while. And
ooh.
He was a trooper though. He made it up and down stairs for practice in a
oh yeah,
cast in practice. He
Uh-huh.
played a gig with a walker behind him, like, leaning.
yeah, because
And
Wow.
he was
at
on,
the time he was playing bass when he got into
yeah,
the accident.
Oh,
And so
and he still stood on that leg.
yeah, for the gig, I moved over to drums because we had another guitar player at the time, so I moved on to drums.
oh,
And
okay.
he did the gig sitting on his walker
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
with his broken leg.
So, that's rock and roll if nothing else
Yes,
is.
right.
Okay, so and that also explains why I was confused looking at your band pictures too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait a minute, didn't he play? Yeah, who
Yeah.
is this
This
now?
was
I'm
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Like
like,
we
wait a minute.
said, we've kind of had some moving parts here with
Right.
members in the band.
Mhm.
It's really cool though, having members that can play multiple instruments and
Oh
kind of
yeah, I mean,
shift
yeah.
over. But where we're at now, just getting
Mhm.
that momentum going and getting everybody up to speed where they need to be, pun intended.
Mhm.
Gotta mend and then play.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that things are on the mend and coming back, and
Oh
all
yeah.
my best to them. I hope you guys are getting out. And where have you been playing? Are you mostly in your region, or
Yeah,
have you
Lynchburg.
branched out much? Lynchburg, yeah.
We've done a few
Yeah.
in Lynchburg.
Hmm. What clubs are they? Clubs or festivals or something? Or
We
I would say
did
they're venues.
Yeah,
venues?
venues.
Okay.
We did one at a brewery and then another at like an art house where they
Oh,
they
sure.
have different,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
different things. We had some other gigs that we had to push back due to
Yeah.
you know, our one-legged man, but once he's 100%, we're gonna start looking to book at some other places and even branch out to like Richmond and Blacksburg and places
Central
like that.
Virginia.
Yeah.
We're coming for
Sure.
you.
Well, hey, yeah, if you, let me know if you want to get up this way too, because I'm sure we could, we could help you out with that too. So
That'd be cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. That's great. So yeah, and that's the thing too. There's so many different venues nowadays. The breweries are popping up like dandelions all over
Oh
the
my
place.
gosh,
Mhm.
they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Mhm.
They are like, if in a 50-mile radius, there's like 100 of them, it seems. And
That's
Yeah.
not
they're
even
really
an
great.
exaggeration.
Yeah, I'm not
it's like,
exaggerating.
yeah,
Like
Um,
there's like one on every corner.
yeah.
Yeah.
wineries, breweries,
Mhm.
and the thing about it is they're pretty good.
Mhm.
The product is great, and I like them as a venue.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a cool
yeah.
place to go, a good place to have a show for sure.
Sure. And yeah, the breweries, I mean, very supportive of, I think the people that kind of go to places like that are more supportive of arts in general, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean
Yeah.
the clubs are not dead.
No.
There's not a bunch of them in our area. Venue clubs, especially for a band like A Day in Pompeii. But there are we have another option, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, there's other options out there, and I think some of the bars that are around, I think it's kind of forcing them to step up their game entertainment wise, because I've
They
been
need
to a
to.
number of them where they've had the same, this one club, they've had the same blown PA speakers for the past 10 years. And the bands don't sound good when they play there. And I don't know how they're drawing crowds in there, but it's just stepping up and having professional production is very important.
And yeah, it can really make a place worth
Mhm.
coming through, especially for really big bands.
Oh yeah, it does.
They
It
could
does.
step up and host them better.
I mean, the professional acts aren't going to go for that,
No, they definitely
No.
they would, but they could these places could open the
Mhm.
doors to them if they just stepped up their game for sure.
Right. But it's just a matter of, and then also having professionals running the production, not just having good equipment, but
Yeah,
when you go
there you go.
somewhere and you're playing and you can't hear your monitors and you can't get the sound man's attention because he's on his phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I've seen that.
That's frustrating.
It
that's
is.
how places die.
It is. It is. You've really got to be particular and quality oriented from A to Z nowadays, because
Agree.
people are more discerning. People don't want to go out and they don't want to spend their money on crap.
They're
Sure,
already
support,
spending 15 on a beer. So
right?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
needs to be worth
support the
that.
local music, support the local acts, the comedians, the authors, the actors, the bands. But on the other hand, we have a responsibility, if we want to be supported, to put something out that's worthwhile.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And
Yeah.
the sad thing is that so often you just don't see it.
No.
Yep.
Well,
So
unfortunately, too many people they make music, or they create without actually thinking, like, I should
Mhm.
actually put effort into this, and then they get mad when nobody likes it. It's like,
Right.
well, it's like, no, there's a reason,
Hmm.
but I like to think that we're the opposite. We're overthinking all of that. It's like, oh, but really want to make sure this is good. Really want to make sure this is
Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
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 Some
There
create.
is. You're absolutely right about that. Making sure you're having some pride, putting something out there that is, you know, desirable.
Yeah, all the way around.
Definitely the way to go. Definitely the way to go. And you just can't skimp on it. I guess
Mm-hmm.
which again is a relief as to why you're doing your own recordings here, because I'm sure, Jonathan, I mean, you've probably had times too where you've been sitting around thinking about a song, and all of a sudden, you run downstairs and do something.
3 a.m.
Yes, many times. Like
Mhm.
there's been I'll wake up at night and I'll be like, I have an idea for a guitar solo. I'll go
Right.
into the next room and
Mhm.
lay down something rough and then actually go back and retrack it if it sounds good. But
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of the extras, like I said, like to call it on the songs, are a result of late night just
Mhm.
ramblings.
Right.
Epiphany.
Right. And it doesn't cost you a couple $100 to do it.
No, just some time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's been times when I've been working on stuff, like even, interviews and, editing for shows and things like that, where I think of something and I wake up and do it, but then it ends up being 2.5 hours. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to be late for work in the morning unless I wrap
Mhm.
this up, you know,
Yeah.
but,
Such
But
is
when
the life
when
of
the
an artist.
creative spark hits you, you're at its mercy.
mhm,
You know, you just have to let it happen when it happens.
I
right.
think that's the difference between people that, they're interested in art
Uh-huh.
and then artists. Is the artists, they're like, well, I'm doing this and I have to
Mhm.
do this right now. I have to do it this way. Whatever the medium is,
Mhm.
it's right on the spot, right then and there. You got to get it out.
Well,
That's
it's
the
the
difference.
same, right? And it's the same thing too with acting and filmmaking too. I
Sure.
mean, because like, oh God, um, I've seen some things. Uh, if you think bands can be bad sometimes, and I think too, and I don't know if you've seen this or not. You see people who fall in love with the idea of being in a band or being a guitar player or being an actor,
Yeah,
but they don't want to do the things that are necessary to step up their game and actually do it.
Oh
because
yeah.
it looks nice, it looks fun,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of sacrifices that come, especially
Hmm.
there's varying levels. I think of bands that they've been doing this for 20 years and they tour 250 shows a year. Those
Hmm.
people aren't home. They
Right.
don't see their families. They
Hmm.
don't, their time off is limited. That's a
Hmm.
massive sacrifice. And even I know with acting, you're on location.
Hmm.
You hear actors say they go to city to after city, but they've never seen the city because they were just there to shoot. They were there to work.
Yeah.
They
Hmm.
weren't at bands. The same thing with bands. They
Yeah.
might be touring, but they're not actually seeing these places. They're working.
Hmm.
And I mean, you can be a really talented. You can be an excellent guitar player. You can be a brilliant actor, but if you don't have what it takes for the actual work, it's gonna fall flat.
It
Um,
is. It will. It most definitely will. And
and you have to learn to take the hits. Like, it's sometimes stuff's just gonna be bad. You have a bad show,
hmm.
and
Right.
you could have done everything right, and it still goes wrong. And you just have to keep doing it
Mhm.
and learn the
And
learning
Yeah.
from the
learn.
mistakes.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always. Everything is always a learning experience. You learn something different each time, and again, and I know what you're talking about playing out of town. Because a lot of times when we would play out of town for us was DC and New York, and DC is the most aggravating city to drive in if you've never done it
oh
before.
yeah,
It is awful.
It is absolutely horrible, and I used to work down there too, and I was like,
Poor
never
yeah.
thing.
again.
This one,
And but the thing was like whenever we would play down there, we would really never we would drive by the Washington Monument or the
yeah,
Jefferson Memorial. That we didn't get a chance to go see it.
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Same thing with New York. Same thing with New York. We'd drive. We'd go through the Holland Tunnel, and we could see the World Trade Centers back in those days, or the Empire State Building, but we never got a chance to stop and
Mhm.
look at it
Yep.
or anything
There's
like
no
that.
chance to. Yeah.
There's load-ins and
Hmm.
Sound
sound
check
check.
and
Any? Do you guys have any stories like from the road or playing in other towns or anything? Uh-oh.
I
Goodness.
got a
I
few.
think you
Go,
do.
you
Yeah.
go for it,
I
John. You've
okay.
done some things.
So yeah, I've got a few. One of the bands I was in, we played on the Vans Warped Tour, which
Oh,
was
okay.
super cool. And we played one date, it was in Virginia Beach, which is, that's cool because it's Virginia, it's on the beach, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
It was so hot that day.
Oh, yeah.
I
I can
mean, it was
imagine.
miserable. It was like the end of July. It was
Hmm.
100 and some
Right.
degrees. It was they had it set up in a parking lot of an amphitheater.
Oh,
And so we loaded our stuff in. We did our set. It was cool. I felt awful afterwards. So I found this nice big tree. I vomited everything that was in my stomach next to this tree.
Mm.
And I get up and I walk a little bit and I turn around and this girl comes up to the tree and she sits in it.
Oh, God.
And I wanted to go and say something to her, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I felt so bad for her, just
I
because
wonder if she still thinks about it.
yeah.
or if she even knew.
Like,
True.
yeah,
She
maybe
Like
might
she
not have
didn't realize
realized.
it.
that
Oh,
that's
my.
so there was that. There was another. We were on tour. I don't remember where we were. Probably Georgia, somewhere like that.
Hmm.
In the summer, it was hot, and we're driving. We had this like piece of junk '90s Dodge van that broke down all the time, and we had this gigantic trailer. And one of the guys was totally bombed, and he's like, "Man, I gotta pee." We're like, "Dude, we're on the
Mm.
middle of the interstate. Like, where are you gonna pee?" He goes, "Give me that bottle. There's a
Oh,
bottle on the
no,
floor."
no.
And so he pees in the bottle, and he's like, "I don't have a top. What am I gonna do?" And he's like,
No.
he throws it out the window. We're going like 70 miles an hour on the interstate. He just chucks his bottle of pee out the window.
Oh, Lord.
And did it blow back in or anything, or did it?
It exploded on the side of the van.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez. Mm.
Yeah, and so we stop and you
Guys
see
are
the
gross.
whole
Ew.
side of the van just covered in just
that's so
Mm.
nasty.
substance. That's all
We
I'm
Substance.
used,
gonna say is substance.
yeah, we
Yeah.
used to play CBGBs in New York, and this
Yeah.
was like early '90s, and that was a great place, and it was just as disgusting as everybody else would tell you. If you drop your car keys on the floor in the bathroom, just burn your car keys.
Yeah.
I
Burn your
mean,
car keys.
you know, um, it was just absolutely, so it was always a big deal for a Baltimore band to get a gig up there. And a lot of times there was a car caravan or, a bunch of people would always go up. And so we would rent a rider truck that had the little hatch that would slide like behind the driver's seat
Mm-hmm.
so you could go into the back. And so what we would do is we would have our gear back there, and then we would have a bunch of couches and have about 20 people back there up with us. So instead of chartering a bus, this was our this was your round trip to New York City. And so we would drive that up there, and by the grace of God, young and dumb, we got up there and there was like not 20 dead people in the back from carbon monoxide poisoning, or we didn't get pulled over for suspicion of human trafficking or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we used to, that was always a big thing. Always a big thing. It was always like you guys are probably too young to remember bon voyage parties, but like when my grandparents and their friends would go to Hawaii, before they would go, their friends would always throw them a bon voyage party. And
No, never seen
like
one
the
of those.
Yeah,
the
no.
gig, yeah, the gig that you had before you went to New York was almost like your bon voyage party. And people would be there to wish you well. And again, a lot of times there were car caravans, 12, 15 cars full of people going up to see you and
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
Those are great times. I really miss those days.
Yeah,
Real,
yeah.
Yeah.
really miss those days. So well, I really appreciate you all coming and spending some time with us and everything. And before we wrap up here, I'd like to give you your shameless plugs. This is the shameless plug portion of the evening where we allow you and encourage you to shamelessly plug yourself in the most
I
shameless
have no
fashion you can. And, with no shamelessness spared and all shamelessness encouraged. So go
Okay.
right ahead.
Okay. So yeah, we're a day in Pompeii and we're from Lynchburg, Virginia. And you can find us on pretty much anywhere you stream music. We are on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. And we're just really happy to be a part of this. Thank you so much for having us. We would love for anyone listening to go find us anywhere that your favorite streaming apps, and follow, stream our songs, share our songs, add them to a playlist, leave a comment that you heard us, here with Mike. And that's my shameless plug for today.
Well, great. And you do have a link tree. If you look up Linktree and a day in Pompeii, you can find all those links there as well.
Yeah, you can take, go to anywhere, maybe there's something, social media site you're not on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be on at least one of them that you use. So if you're listening to this right now, then you're on the social somewhere. So you'll find us.
Great. Well, thank you all for being with us again. A Day in Pompeii, and the link to the Linktree we will have in the show notes. So if you're looking, you can click on it and find everything you want to know about A Day in Pompeii. Again, their material is great. It's well worth listening to, well worth buying. Merchandise, everything that they have, well worth buying and investing a few dollars, because again, those of you who say there's no good new music out there, you're very wrong, because
you're wrong.
You'll find it here, So thank you all again for listening. And again, A Day in Pompeii, and we will see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Folks, thanks again for tuning in and listening to our interview with A Day in Pompeii. Anna Tracy, Candace Phelps, and Jonathan May. I had a great interview with them. I really enjoy their music. Well worth checking out. Their link tree is in the show notes, and you can click on that and find their music wherever you look. You can also find their social media. And I really enjoyed our conversation today, and I think you will too. Remember to check us out on foulplayersradio.com. We have over 325 episodes there, 325 interviews. Also, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Remember, hit the like and subscribe button, tell a friend, and leave a good review. Folks, thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate the support that you give us and the support that you give our guests. Remember, their books, their albums, tickets to their shows, and all those things make great gifts. Support local and up-and-coming artists. Remember, this is how they make their livelihood. And, as they say, buy local or buy local. This is Michael Spedden signing off. We will see you all next time.